Moi drodzy, mamy informację, że są nowe przecieki dotyczące Skibidi Toilet Part 2, 70 odcinek, ekskluzywne od Data.bio. Ja tego już nie robię zwykle na tym kanale, a obejrzymy sobie jej odcinek, bo ona ujawni leaki. To jest moje pierwsze wrażenia, bo nie oglądałem jeszcze. Także lecimy, ale jestem podekscytowany. Co chcę powiedzieć, to mniej więcej to, że słuchajcie, to oznacza, że odcinek będzie co 7 dni teraz. Mega się cieszę, mega pozytywnie, moi drodzy. I lecimy z tym.
Leaks are real, which Defuk Boom shared with me personally, as it happened before with Elite Cameraman.
Wow, i on się dzieli z tymi kanałami. Boom, może mi też dasz.
They're crazy.
Przecieki. Zostawcie lajki, jak jesteście super zadowoleni i wbijajcie na Discorda.
How the new episode will begin, and we can predict what will happen next.
No dobrze.
And we will also talk about the release date of the new episode. And Mr. Boom also
Pewnie w środę albo jutro. Ej, jutro jakby było, to by było super.
shared with me information about the new episode and how many parts there will be. In this video, you will get very cool information, so be sure to watch to the end.
Dobra, słuchajcie, już to skipuję.
And we still have a lot of questions left, such as, what will happen in the next episode and how will it begin? And in this video, you will get a lot of information and my theories about the next episode. And let's move on to the first leaked frame.
Dobra,
in
dawaj.
This leaked frame, we
Okej, mamy Dark Camera Speakermana, który podaje rękę, czyli oni uciekają z tej windy.
see a dark assassin who asks for help from POV plunger cameraman.
Aha, albo prosi o pomoc. Okej, no rzeczywiście. O jacie, nie mówcie, że Dark zginie.
And this is just crazy. And do you remember how the dark assassin sacrificed the twins in episode 69? And how plunger cameraman reacted
No, ciekawe, czy Plunger go uratuje. Myślę, że tak. Jak oceniacie?
to this? And I have already said many times in my video that it is possible that there will be such a situation that the plunger cameraman will not help the dark assassin because of that incident. And
Nie, no nie, musi mu pomóc. Nie, obstawiam, że on każdemu pomaga, jakby on broni tych całego sojuszu, więc
I
jemu
also
mimo
said that we
wszystko
should expect
pomoże.
more losses among the squad of agents, and this will probably be confirmed. But in fact, this leaked frame does not tell us about the death of the speaker man. And as we know, that leaked frame is always very confusing and everything seems to become
No bo wiecie, to można traktować tak, że to Dark Speakerman podaje rękę temu ninży i to ninja ratuje Dark Speakerman, a nie ninja Speakermana. No to można jako dwojako, bo mi się właśnie to bardziej wydaje tak, że to Dark Speakerman podaje rękę, żeby uratować ninja, a nie, że i on wyciąga, nie? Tak mi się wydaje. Że oni po prostu, ta winda zaczyna spadać i Dark Speakerman musi wbić tam, nie? Bo wiecie czemu? Myślę, że interpretacja Data.bio jest zła. Wiecie dlaczego? Bo jetpack, po co miałby z Dark Speakerman jakby się ratować? On ma jetpacka, on może sobie polecieć. Więc wydaje się, że to bardziej chodzi o to, że to on podaje rękę ninży i ninja chce uratować albo mu pomóc wyjść z tej windy. Rozumiecie, o co mi chodzi?
But in fact, in the episode, everything will be different. And let's analyze the details that we see here. Based on this place, we can say that the agents got out of the elevator in which they were at the end of episode 70, since from behind we see an abyss. And it seems that this elevator fell down, but at the last moment, the agents were able to get out into the corridor. Or now they are on the
Jeżeli
elevator
to spada, to znaczy, że to pukanie było od kogoś złego. Wiecie, to na końcu takie. Czyli to był jakaś zła ten Skibidi.
Since in the past we saw that someone tried to punch a hole in the elevator from above. And here is the two option who could have done this. The first option is that it was a Skibidi toilets, but the agents were able to
Albo
kill them
ktoś
with
zły,
the help
albo
of their
ktoś dobry w
guns.
sumie, nie?
And through this hole in the ceiling, they were able to get out, but the speaker man needed help to get out of there. And the second option is that the agents who entered the laboratory in episode 69 reached this elevator. And they are the ones who are trying to
To
pull
by
the
było
squad
za
out of this
szybko, jakby
elevator and
dostali się do tej windy.
also punched a hole in the ceiling, and the speaker man asks for help to get out of there. And the third option, and for me the most likely, is that the agents were able to break down the elevator doors and get out into the corridor. Because we
No, prawdopodobnie jest tak, że oni te boczne
saw
drzwi
the physical
zniszczą.
strength of the plunger cameraman who hit the wall.
Wow, ale
And
są
it seems to me
przecieki
that
nieźle.
together with the dark
Ale
assassin
fajnie.
there would be no problem breaking down the elevator door. But in this moment, Skibidi toilets who tried to get inside hit the ceiling so hard that the elevator could not stand it and flew down. And the speaker at the last moment was able to grab onto this beam. And this seems the most likely option since here we see sparks. And it seems to me that due to the many blows, the elevator fell down, and usually such sparks happen in situations
Okej, tak jak mówię, mi wydaje się, że to Dark Speakerman komuś
when the
pomaga.
elevator falls down at great speed. Of course, these are all just theory, and in fact, everything could be different. And this beam that the speakerman grabbed does not look like the floor that is in the corridor, but also write your versions in the comments. But the main question is whether the plunger cameraman will help the dark assassin, or will he sacrifice him like Speakerman did with the twins? And here I also have two options. If we see sparks here, then perhaps it is at this moment that the toilets are attacking the agents, and the agents have very little time to get out of there. And perhaps due to lack of time, plunger cameraman will also sacrifice
No nie do końca się z nią zgadzam, no. Powiem
the
wam
speakerman.
szczerze, że...
But to be honest, I don't think so. And that's why I have another option. And in this option, I'm very confident. And I think that the plunger cameraman will definitely help the speakerman, since what he did with the twins.
No dobra, tu się zastanawia nad tym, czy pomoże komuś, to raczej nie ma sensu nad tym
And
się
perhaps at that
rozwodzić.
moment, we'll understand this in a second in the next leaked frame. And this leak already gives us a lot of clues.
O proszę, czy oni oswobodzili się z tej windy i Lucky Cameraman i Ninja prawdopodobnie przeżyli. I patrzcie, to jest jakaś książka.
And pay attention to this place in which this cameraman is located. And this is definitely not the elevator in which the agents were. And on the right, we can see the doors the same as those at the beginning of this laboratory in part 4 of
Takie te
episode
hangary jakby,
67.
nie?
And this means that the agents
Jakaś
managed to get out of
książka.
the elevator, and I also think that the dark assassin also survived, and he with them. And here we can see a strange round window that usually on underwater ships.
No, to jest takie dziwne, jakby łódź podwodna,
It's hard
nie?
to believe that the agents are now
I
underwater.
to w ogóle to wygląda tak, słuchajcie, jakby oni byli gdzieś w jakimś takim klasztorze albo coś, bo te mury są też tak inaczej
But still,
zrobione,
this is a
nie?
very strange window. But the most interesting detail is that the lucky guy is holding a very strange book in his hands.
No.
And I immediately
No, mi się też to skojarzyło z tym, z multiversem, tak jak
remembered
tutaj.
Skibidi
No.
Multiverse from Dom
Tak.
Studio. Because there were similar books, but about the Skibidi apocalypse. And in the multiverse, YouTubers collect and destroy these books because there is very important information about plans for Skibidi toilets. And is it possible that a similar book also appeared in Skibidi Toilet? Actually, no, I'm sure it's something else. And I also have 3
Może tu jest jakaś, żeby albo opracowany wirus, albo jak uleczyć te
options for
wszystkie
what kind of book it is.
Skibidi.
The first option is that there are Skibidi entries here how the Skibidi scientists conducted experiments
No.
on Skibidi toilets,
Może były wszystkie eksperymenty notowane
cameramen
tam.
and people, and crossed them all into one mutant. And this option is very true, because even in the movies and in real
Albo sposób, jak pokonać szybko toalety, nie?
toilets throughout the series. So, as we have already seen a hybrid Skibidi toilet which is made from the body of a cameraman and a Skibidi toilet, because the paralyzing ray did not affect it. And also, at the beginning of episode 69, we saw 2 bodies of a cameraman in a funny pose. But we know that they shouldn't be there, because in the episode we saw how many agents went inside the laboratory. And this means that these bodies were here before, and they were held captive and experimented on.
Okej, ciekawe, ja tego nie zauważyłem, nie liczyliśmy tego składu, może rzeczywiście tak było, nie?
But a human scientist. Since I told you many times that this was a military base.
No bo jeżeli tą książkę ktoś, wiecie, tam coś napisał, a Skibidi to ile rąk nie mają, nie? To człowiek
people.
musiał zrobić,
And at the
albo potem już
Same
jaką
time, it was a
maszyna
laboratory
jakaś.
in which people who lay there not for very long.
I patrzcie,
Since we
ludzie.
clearly see blood on the ground. And if he lay there for a long time, then the blood would have already soaked into the ground.
Tak, no tu się zgadzam, że to są świeże jakby ciała.
It's been 3 days since Skibidi toilets are trying to get into our base. We have almost no supplies left, and most of the soldiers. And also,
Huh?
another burnt soldier died in the car. Clearly see blood on the ground. And if he lay there for a long time, then the blood would have already soaked into the ground. And also, another burnt soldier died in the car.
No tu
And
jest,
Boom already in episode 69 hinted at
tak,
people
no
when we
jakieś
saw
pełno
human
ludzi,
skeletons.
no.
And also the
Ciekawe.
skeleton of a scientist, and I think that this is a scientist's diary in which he wrote down all his research. And I think that it was like this. Today it's been 3 days since Skibidi toilets are
A, to jest
written
jakby
in
opowiada
crazy,
co.
but in fact Mr. Boom told me that there would only be 3 parts.
Okej, 3 części będą, czyli będzie ta i jeszcze ostatnia.
Part should be released faster than part 1. 5 days have already passed since the release of the first part 1. There would
co?
only be 3 parts. And he also added that part 2 will be shorter than part 1, and
Część druga będzie krótsza, no 4 minuty.
there will be a little less
Była
action than in
ostatnia.
part 1. But this episode will be no less interesting than the first part.
No to będziemy mieli troszkę więcej loru odkrytego świata, fajnie.
But when will the new episode be released? I did not receive exact information, but I can say that the second part should be released faster than part 1.
Jak się mniej dzieje, myślę, że ten 7 dni
5
będzie,
days have already
słuchajcie.
passed since the release of the first
Środa
part.
albo czwartek.
So personally, I think that part 2 will be released within 3 or a maximum of 5 days from the release of this video.
Nie,
And I
ja obstawiam, że to będzie środa, czwartek, moi drodzy.
also want to add that I don't have any more leaked frames and boom
Ej, nieźle. Kurka, powiem wam, że Mistrzostwo Świata. Czekam w szczególności na te, wiecie, sekrety i fabułę, żebyśmy poznali cały ten świat trochę bardziej.